we're all a solution or we can all be a problem. And it's really tough. I mean, there's no life journey out there that's simple. And I think we've been removed a lot from nature. We've all valued a sort of slightly economic trajectory at various costs. And yet, I think when you become more aware or whatever it is, it's either in your DNA or something wakes you up. You just know we are all part of this planet and we all play a role. And if you can work together as a global community or a local community or village community or regional community, it's great.
Welcome to Global Goodness, where I'm your host, Kim Hunt. In a world inundated with troubling headlines, this podcast offers a refreshing perspective. Join us for inspiring interviews with people from across the globe who are spearheading remarkable projects dedicated to improving both humanity and our planet. Today, I'm honored to welcome Julie Church, a fourth-generation Kenyan-born ocean conservationist, social entrepreneur, and visionary leader behind two transformative initiatives, Ocean Sole and Seas4Life. Julie is the founder of OceanSole, a social enterprise in Kenya that takes discarded flip-flops that are littering beaches and waterways and turns them into beautiful, colorful sculptures and art. It's not just about cleaning up the oceans, though. She's created jobs, empowered communities, and sparked global conversation around marine waste. She's also the founder of Seas4Life, her second venture, which focuses on marine conservation in East Africa through bespoke travel adventures, helping protect the very ecosystems she's so passionate about. And the world's noticed. Julie's won the Energy Globe Award for Kenya in 2010, was named a Real Leaders Award winner in 2018, and even made it to the finals of the BBC World Challenge in 2008, placing her among the world's most inspiring grassroots innovators. From World Wildlife Fund marine projects to award-winning social enterprises, Julie's journey is one of creativity, courage, and deep commitment to our planet. Stay with us as we dive into the story of how one woman turned trash into treasure and a movement. Julie, thank you for joining us today. So I'd love to just kind of go back to the beginning. What first stirred your love for the ocean? Was there a moment or memory that made you realize that ocean conservation was going to be your life's calling?
Interesting question. I think I was really lucky to have a childhood which was part Nairobi, part the Rift Valley, part being on safari and part being at the coast. And I do remember a poignant point when my mum would always take us to the coast with myself, my sister, and my cousins. And there was a point I remember just thinking, God, I really love this place. This is where I belong. I felt, but you're 7, you have no idea or whatever. And I think somehow just my DNA is a DNA of sustainability.
Yeah.
And growing up in East Africa here, we've been really lucky because people's lives are just connected to the incredible wilderness and wildlife that we have. And a lot of people have been previously, people you looked up to were always looking after the terrestrial side, and the marine side was often ignored because it was a territory no one had really explored, especially here. So I just remember going, oh, well, everyone's done the terrestrial side. They're talking elephants and rhinos. Why aren't we talking ocean side? It needs protection. There's very little value given to the communities in the ocean compared to the, terrestrial side at the moment. So it was just a thing that I fell into. But sustainability, for whatever reason, even though it's such a complex word right now, but when I was 21, it was even in my 21 speech, I was like, sustainability is all. Yeah.
Which I love that because I feel like maybe not a few, maybe more than a few decades ago, but it wasn't such a big thing then as it is now. You were kind of like out on the edges if you were talking about sustainability in a big way.
Yeah. And you just couldn't take it away from you. It was just part of you.
I love that.
Mm.
Can you tell us, let's get right into talking about Ocean Soul. Can you tell us what Ocean Soul is? What inspired the idea behind it? And how did you go from a conservationist to a social entrepreneur?
I was so happy to get what I felt was my dream job. And my dream job was to be working for a conservation organization, an international one that was dealing partly terrestrial with the community and partly marine. And I got the job as what we called then the project executant for the Kiunga Marine National Reserve. It was a complex area. It was on the border of Kenya and Somalia. And by default, I got it because someone had to leave. And it couldn't have been what I'd wished for more, is exactly what I
Hmm.
wished. And when I took the job on, it was, a program for WWF, and we had sea turtles, I think dugong, mangroves, bit of coral reefs, whatever. But I became the curator of looking after this. And I just remember going, well, we've got a cool budget to say it's $200,000 then for per annum, which was a lot in our world then. And I was like, okay, that's great, but we got these programs, but there's this funny thing here that we haven't quite engaged another part of the community. We were talking fishing and this and that, and I found out that two things: the kids were making their toys with the flip-flops and the plastic waste, plastic bags, and they were sticking them together with sticks and thorns. And it was just a simple transition go, well, can we not make marine animals and make them like mobiles that you can buy?
Yeah.
So it can still be fragile, but we're communicating a message of to the community ocean conservation, to the rest of the world creativity. Um, and the women were cutting up for this private resort. And I don't know why it became such a thing. I was like, well, we've got lots of money for turtles and dugongs and mangroves and coral reefs, and we need all of that. But we haven't we haven't quite got enough money for this community. So why don't we make it? Why don't we generate some income?
Right.
Between all of this, I mean, I was nearly killed by a buffalo in all of
Mm.
this on our family farm. So it wasn't like anyone was at fault but me. And I think when I then eventually made it back to the field, so I was hit by a buffalo in end of the 90s and then got back into the field about a year later. Took
Yeah.
me a year to recover. And then I was like, well, why can't we trade the flip-flops? And WWF Switzerland gave us an order for, let me say, 10,000 key rings, which they would put in the envelopes to encourage people to donate, which was such a cool thing. So now going from like what you call them, like sticks and thorns, no
Hmm.
glue, no
Hmm.
cutting, really, I mean, nothing sophisticated. We had to make turtles, which were 2 inches long, 1 inch thick, with their things. We had to glue them together and we had to punch a hole so we could make a key ring. And we were then able to train up from that order lots of women in the villages. There were so many mistakes. It was just part of the journey. And on our journey, we also ended up with a bead. When we ended up with a flip-flop bead, what can you do with a flip-flop bead? You can make earrings, you can make curtains, you can make things from a bead. And so from that, I then thought, well, if we can sell to WWF Switzerland, can't we sell to other people? And I took it to a craft fair, Christmas craft fair in Nairobi. And it just sort of formed from that, very unofficial in the in our charity WWF language. And in fact, it was very complex for WWF because they're like, we don't do this. We give you money to spend, right? You don't bring money in. And I said, well, we don't have enough money to keep these women in this community engaged. So we have to make it happen for ourselves. And these guys on the boundaries of Kenya and Somalia, this is not like and next to purchasing power. It's really it was just simple to me. It was easy. I just
Hmm.
read it. And then I remember being almost told off that I was bringing money in. And I said, well, it's what we do. This is what we do here. And we became one of those that at that stage, probably one of the most interesting conservation initiatives. And then I left, and it wasn't easy leaving.
Yeah.
So I ended up working with IUCN on a more regional program and doing more regional things. But as I did that, I kept this whole little thing going in the background at the bottom of my house here, moved to a friend's garage. Then it moved to something else in Nairobi that we then ended up calling our workshop. And we created a team of about 30 people. But it was no longer the coastal women per se. It was now taking that concept and communicating marine debris and the importance of the ocean through product. Because I was no longer at the coast, I was now in Nairobi. My mum had passed away and I'd survived a buffalo accident and I was trying to juggle it all. And I wasn't at the coast anymore. So I
Yeah.
created this little workshop here in Nairobi and it grew and grew and grew. And I think now they're about 70 permanent. I don't know how many permanents, but we used to also buy from poorer communities in Kibera and add value to flip-flops that were even upstream. Because, all flip-flops flow downstream. So it was the
Hmm.
same. Yeah.
Before we dive any deeper, I'd love for you to take a quick moment to visit oceansole.com. That's SOLE, and explore their website. There, you'll see the stunning works of art they craft from discarded flip flops, transforming ocean waste into something truly inspiring and sold to people all around the world. Once you've had a look, come back and keep listening to gain a deeper appreciation for just how far it's come on its journey. Now, let's get back to the interview. We were just talking about the near death incident with the buffalo and having your mom pass away. And
Yeah.
then coming back, you started this initiative. Do you think that those incidences gave you just time to reflect in general or kind of changed you in a way that pushed you to create this? Did that make any impact? Or was that just
No, funny enough, I'll be really honest. I think I just wanted to be on my same journey.
hmm
I'll be really honest that the buffalo got in the way. And the only
hmm
way I could think about going to the next step was how come I've been stopped? That is so
Yeah,
annoying. It wasn't like I wasn't grown up enough in my mind to think it was an important change making time.
right.
I think I was a bit annoyed
Yeah.
that I wasn't able to be doing what I was doing. It took me quite a long time to walk, but I think I was just on that young trajectory mind going, just why is it getting in my way? Now I would look at it life changing.
Well, I think even just saying that, it also speaks to how passionate you were about this company and how driven you were because, things like that could really just change your trajectory or even just talking about all the mistakes that you made along the way. You have to have grit and perseverance and the drive to see your future vision to be able to keep on going through that and seeing where you want to take this.
Mm, yeah. And it was a future vision that it just keeps coming, even though I keep trying to leave it behind. It's like, no, I got to get a real job. Keeps forcing me in the direction of this is my real job. Hence this blood.
Well, I love that though, because so many people have a real job and don't want it. They want to have their passion project, even though, often that comes with so much extra work. But I'm sure you would beg to differ sometimes. But when you're doing the work that you're passionate about, it doesn't feel like work. But there is so much work. And sometimes you do want to give up. So, it kind of there's that balance back and forth.
There's all of that balance, that's for sure. But if you work for someone else, you'd give your passion to someone else and they wouldn't value it. So I think the journey that I've learned is that when I do work for other people, I give them my 150% and they don't get it, right? and they don't pay you anyway enough of what your value is. So I'm fortunate enough to have leveraged a couple of assets to allow me to try this out on my journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say it's a try out because it's extremely hard work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it does all somehow, there will be a solution, a positive
Mm-hmm.
at the end. But I would rather have done that than have worked for somebody else who, well, no, you could have worked in different ways, but it just depends where you ended up. I
I
had to
hear
end up
you.
for
Yes.
various. There's no right and wrong in this. There's no, it's just where you ended up.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. My friends and I have this conversation all the time about working for yourself versus working for a corporation. So I hear you exactly. And speaking to that, you've talked about a few of them, but what challenges have you faced building a company that's both mission driven, economically sustainable, and profitable?
I think the hardest is that you go on your journey on your own.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it because you're not normal, because your profit making isn't just about profits.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because you don't work for the dollar in the bank. It's
Yeah.
bizarre. It's like, oh, okay, is there money in the bank? Oh, okay, no, whatever. I'll make it work. I'll make it work somehow.
Yeah.
Whereas, someone working in a proper business is like, well, not to say it isn't a proper business, but the mindset is about the balance sheet. Whereas my mindset was about the impact. And somehow the balance would make it work. It doesn't when you suddenly become human again and you feel you're judged
Mm-hmm.
and not grown up enough and you haven't quite valued what taxes are and income is and all of that. So it makes you really unnervy. I think if I hadn't become unnervy, I would be okay, but I became a bit unnervy about it. Ocean Soul became hard at the end for me. It was really, really hard. Um, it's grown great legs right now, and it's
Mm-hmm.
fantastic because Erin, who took it over, has steered it and continued it, and is connecting it to conservation, um, and employing loads of people, and the message is getting out, and it's great. It's great. I just know from the start, I think I think the challenge is when you're really authentic, and it also does you misjudgment because you keep wanting to be authentic because you're half a science you're not a scientist, but you can't just be untrue. And so sometimes you want to make sure that what you're doing and what you're saying is true to what you are doing and what you're saying. And that can be at the risk of the business. Whereas someone who's born business minded will put the business hat on and the authenticity is slightly put under the carpet. Maybe it's a founder's syndrome, maybe it's not, but that's that's a learning curve. Yeah. So that was a big learning curve, I would say.
That is a big learning curve and an extra challenge in any business like this. I was
Mm.
listening to an interview with one of your employees from Ocean Soul, and they talked about the three pillars of Ocean Soul being community, conservation, and education. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's embedded in community,
Hmm.
it's in education, and it's embedded in the fact that conservation is at the heart of it because you're trying to raise awareness about the value of the ocean and marine debris and pollution.
Yeah.
Yeah, and communities are obviously the community is very embedded because they are part of the solution.
Hmm.
Community is a weird word because I'm a community as much as the QIU women are a community,
Hmm.
have different value. We all have a different role to play in that community.
Hmm.
Education is for all of us. We're
No, I
always
like that.
learning. We're always learning about evolving and how to do something a little bit better. Um, but that word community, I find a real challenge actually, because
Mm,
I think it's degrading. I'm as much a community member as she is. Behower, we started it together. I think it's like, well, if the girls didn't take it on, I wouldn't have taken on, and we were a community.
yeah,
It's
like
not
it's
like
almost segregating that
yeah,
word.
were together. So
Yeah.
just segregating.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That really adds a lot of context to that question. And I love what you just said about education is for all of us. We're all evolving. And it's so true. We're not trying to tell someone something. We're all in this together, learning as a group together in every moment.
Yeah. We're all a solution, or we can all be a problem.
Yeah.
And it's really tough. I mean, there's no life journey out there that's simple. And, I think we've been removed a lot from nature.
Hmm.
So we've all valued a sort of slightly economic trajectory
Yeah.
at various costs.
Yeah.
And yet, I think when you become more aware or whatever it is, it's either in your DNA or something wakes you up or
Hmm.
you just know. Um, we are all part of this planet and we all play a role. And if you can work together as a global community or a local community or village community or regional community, it's great. But governments can be very disempowering and hard, and they make things worse.
Yeah, that's such a good point to make up. We can be part of the solution or the problem and both in,
Yeah.
humanity in general. And that's so interesting that you brought up the government because I was just talking to a marine biologist in Cozumel, Mexico a few weeks ago about he's been working for decades on restoring the coral reefs out there, but the government is not supporting their efforts. They are supporting over tourism without checking sustainability, and it's heartbreaking. It is such a hard battle when the government is not working with you. And so I think that's a really important point to bring up. And the fact that some businesses, if they have a good mission and they can be very powerful, can actually be better than governments in a way because they can take the mission that is good for the people and for the planet that maybe the government is not looking at and help in ways that the government is not.
Absolutely. I purely, and that's why I set up Ocean Sole as well. I purely believe in trade, not aid.
Hey there, it's me. I just wanted to hop in and explain. You'll hear the phrase trade not aid in this episode. It means supporting communities by creating fair economic opportunities instead of relying solely on donations. Rather than giving aid, it's about empowering people to earn a living through trade, promoting dignity, self reliance, and long term sustainability. Okay, back to our podcast.
I think the ocean is our core business. It's not a
Mhm.
charity. Our planet is 70-30% ocean, 30% earth, as
Yeah.
our body, in terms of we're mostly, and our body mass is only 30% of our bodies. And it's just this thing. And so this whole government stuff, I mean, it feels it's like a little bit old school. I
Hmm.
think a new governing mechanism will come out. Obviously, it will then be challenged by something else. But that's only because of we've all been testing it in different ways. The Victorian times were not so long ago,
Yeah.
and they were quite tough and rigid. And then it's a way of learning to work with Mother Nature, not against her. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
you need money because we're
Mhm.
in a global economic system.
Yeah.
So how do you make it work in a fair and efficient manner? It's hard.
Absolutely. And even just bring in context to what you're working on with Ocean Sole, it's based out of Kenya and you're cleaning up in Kenya, but these flip-flops are coming down the waterways from who even knows where, other countries, other parts of the continent, from across Asia. You're getting it from everywhere. And not only that, maybe you could speak to just the way flip-flops break down or don't break down and how they're ending up in the global food chain, right?
Yeah,
With fish that are ingesting this and people are like it's a global problem. It's not just something that is just for Kenya to deal with.
no, it's a global problem. It depends on where you are, but they're either
Mhm.
coming across from Indonesia and being
Mhm.
dumped on the beaches of Somalia and Kenya. And we also get, because of the current, somewhat from Tanzania and Mozambique, because I got to know the sort of flip-flop species. So it is a more regional ocean problem, but when you're on the Atlantic side, it's more of a national problem. And so the same flip-flop species will be washed up on their particular beaches and in much higher density, much higher. And it just showcases, I mean, just flip-flops are just one medium.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plastic bottles are also just one medium. Their top is another. Their label was another. It was like I sort of had to step away from that plastic thing because you can't really resolve it.
No. And even it just, the more probably you dive into it, the more you're aware, you can't unknow what you know. And that's really scary once you realize the impact that all of that is having on the oceans. Or how much weight or how many flip-flops does Ocean Soul clean off a beach in a week or a month? Just for our listeners, like so they can gain context of what you are picking up off the beaches.
Oh, I won't know anymore, but exactly now, but
Yeah.
it was basically 1 kilo, 12 to 15 flip-flops. Yeah.
Wow.
And a flip-flop is like an orange. You peel the skin, you take the dirty stuff off, and
Yeah.
inside is color. And then you take the thongs out. And the thongs were interesting because that was a different material of plastic. I didn't really ever know what to do with thongs. I also always wanted to know what I could do with the flip-flop waste. And I think now it's come out. We want, it's going into bitumen.
Hmm.
There's a lot of work going into what you can do more efficiently with more plastic waste. Mm,
Yeah.
ours was ours when we set up Ocean Sole at the beginning, it was very rudimentary. It was creating jobs, creating awareness, and creating cleanups at a
Right.
very beach level, but trying to create that message to millions of people who would then be able to connect to the ocean. But we have definitely cleaned up hundreds and thousands of tons of flip-flops over the years.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, it's me. I just wanted to reach out on the current Ocean Soul team to get the latest stats on their flip-flop ocean cleanup efforts, and here's what they shared. From January 2025 to early April 2025, they collected a total of 6,793 kilograms of flip flops. That breaks down to an average of 576 kilograms per week, or around 5,700 flip flops. On a monthly scale, that's about 2,274 kilograms, equivalent to roughly 22,750 flip flops. It's an incredible reminder of the scale of ocean pollution and the powerful impact a single initiative can have. All right, let's get back to the podcast. Before we move on to Seas for Life, your current project that you're working on, do you have a favorite Ocean Soul project that you created or your team created that you worked on, or a favorite animal that came out that you just loved?
Yeah. We did for the ethical fashion show
Hmm.
2012. We created a life-size giraffe.
Oh my
And
God.
we we also did a whole mosaic, 12 sheets of mosaics that we took to the ethical fashion show in Rome. And we created the body, we bolted the legs on, we created the head and the neck, and because we had to ship it. And so we
Right.
had to also and make it with like so it could last. So we made it with mesh, wire mesh
Hmm.
as the body, and curated that. And then the mosaic had all mediums of other marine waste, so plastic tops and plastic bottles and wire, and I can't like I've got all the photos, a whole variety of stuff. And it was a real um honor to be in Rome, putting the neck of a flip-flop giraffe to its body and bolting it together, and then bolting its legs together and standing it up at the fashion show. That was pretty cool, I have to say.
That is very cool. I'm sure you got a lot of interest in that.
Yeah, I ended up in Switzerland, the WTO. It sort of did a UN circuit of stuff. It was very cool. Yeah.
That's really neat. So
Yeah.
let's transition over and talk to your current project, Seas for Life, which is, from what I know, a curated sea travel company based on tours in the Indian Ocean and the Red Sea, founded in 2019, that promotes education and conservation. Can you tell us more about this?
I think it's really funny. I think it's just inherent. It's the same model. It's sort of trying to connect
Yeah.
people to the ocean in a
Hmm.
different way.
Hmm.
So somehow I fell into this sort of flip-flop scenario, especially because I was now removed from the ocean. So I think this model is the same. It's trade, not aid. It's trying to use experience
Hmm.
with people who want to get to know. So why is most of humanity sitting at a beach, swimming in this little shallow areas, terrified of the rest? They're terrified. So come on a journey
Hmm.
and learn about it. We've got 6 marine ecosystems. There's the beach, there's the rocky shores, there's the seagrass beds, there's the coral reefs, there's the open ocean, and there's the mangroves. So it works. They all need each other. So come and enjoy it. Have fun, but also have fun swimming with dolphins and getting to understand them as you would on safari watching an elephant. Or come and learn about the marine conservation work that people are doing with ex sea turtle poachers and swim with sea turtles right up next to you because we know where they're eating now. They're not the nesting programs. We can literally snorkel with them right up close. And by doing that, you're valuing them alive, not dead,
Hmm.
you know. And why not understand how the coral reef ecosystem works? Because it needs the herbivores, the pescivores, the carnivores, the nocturnal feeders, the whole shebang to keep it in balance. If it keeps getting overfished, which it is, then you're going to be left with lots of algae, which we're getting.
Hmm.
And so trying to showcase how it works in our oceans, in the coastal areas. So people aren't so scared of it, but they're on safari.
Well,
That's the
sign
plan.
me up. I'm already sold. That
So
sounds.
we have a little booklet that I've just done today. This is just Watamble. And we introduce them into all these ecosystems. So it's like a little reference book. And then we talk about the coral reef fish, and we talk about turtles, and we talk about the dolphins. We talk about what a marine mammal is, and so you might see a Moorish idol, and it's actually a surgeonfish, and it plays a specific role on the ocean, on the coral reef, like it's a
Mhm.
herbivore. Um, and so you just learning a little bit about things. Sharks and rays, they don't have skeletons; they're full of cartilage. They need their gills to breathe. They produce pups. Blah blah blah. And so it's a safari of learning.
Hey there, just popping in again to say you have to check out the Seas for Life website and their socials. It's seas4life.com with the number 4, not the word. The photos and videos are absolutely stunning. Seriously, total wanderlust vibes. Have a peek and start dreaming up your next adventure to Kenya, and then come back to the podcast to learn more.
That's the plan. So you're not just beached. You're just so ignorant if you're just beached.
Well, I think that's so important because if you don't know about what's going on in the ocean, you can't save it. You can't care about it. And when I was talking to the marine biologist from Mexico a few weeks ago, I asked him, how can our listeners help? And he said, learn about the coral. Because when you understand and learn about the coral, then you know and you can help save it. You can create that education and that relationship with it. And to like what you were saying, it's the same thing is that you're right. I think there is a lot of fear about the ocean. It's funny because we talk about this. I grew up on the ocean, so I love any chance I get to be underwater and discovering things. But my husband grew up in a lake country, and so he likes feels comfortable in lakes and being on the ocean. He thinks is really freaky because there's things underneath. So, and I feel like a lot of people do. So I think it's creating that education and taking away the fear and sharing that passion and excitement that goes along with what is under the water.
Exactly, but it's just based on so much ignorance. And it's so annoying.
Yeah, well, I think that you're targeting it the right way because you're targeting people who, like you said, are already interested, or maybe you're slightly forcing their hand. But I think if you're taking an adventure like that, you're already curious. And I think you were just saying you have ex-turtle poachers sharing their information. So for that, I even just think to learn about something like that, that's so interesting.
Mm. I know it's really cool. Again, I've done exactly what I did with Ocean Soul. I just went in blindly
Hmm.
and passionately invested my own money and my own focus and time. And now I need to not lose control of it, um, or myself in it, but make it a real business. People well, very much a circular economy. We're supporting, we have a foundation as well. So I've set up Seas4Life where I've got the business and I've got the foundation. 70% of our profits will go towards the foundation. And all the work that we do in the experience side is with our conservation partners anyway. And we
Hmm.
offset our travel with blue carbon projects.
So like a
So
carbon offset.
yeah, the carbon offset, not that there's always that much, but
Hmm.
we definitely that offset will go into, for me, mangrove, seagrass beds, coral reefs, anything open ocean. It's not going into terrestrial forest. And so our model is 70/30, 70% of our profits
Hmm.
go back into supporting conservation efforts. In the meantime, the foundation plays a role of raising awareness, raising funds, putting, you know, wetsuits on rangers or
Yeah.
something, so we can really get our community valued in a live fish, not a dead fish, in a
Yes.
live coral, not a dead coral. And most of our trade here has not valued that at all.
Hmm.
Everything's gone terrestrial. It's rhinos, elephants, pangolins, cheetahs, lions, leopards. Um, but our ocean has got no lions, it's got no sharks. So we've got to start communicating in a way that people understand. There are no sharks here. They've been fished out and killed. There's very little fish because it's all
Hmm.
caught, or it's just traded off. So we're very imbalanced. And yet the second most biodiverse region in the world is the Western Indian Ocean, which is right here. The heart of it is southern Tanzania, northern Mozambique. So when I say in the region I work, I don't work in Kenya. I work in the Western Indian Ocean,
The West.
where the
Right.
currents are similar, the migrational patterns are together, because
Hmm.
the ocean is boundaryless. Migrating now. We talk, so I'm way ahead of my time, as I was with Ocean Soul. But I don't know, it inherently comes to me, so I have to just do it. And now hopefully find conservation investment, conservation financing, because my business model is conservation financing, and so was Ocean Soul.
Hmm.
It's financing a system where people are valued, marine debris given value, so that it's worthy to buy. Because as it was before, it wasn't worthy to buy.
Hmm.
And the same here, you're giving value to this experience so that you can connect to it, so that you can go and leave and be a part of a solution rather than a problem. It's your choice, by the way. But you also have an adventure, you also have a holiday, and you go to places where few people go.
Well, I'm
Opening
so
up.
grateful that you are ahead of your time because you said there are no sharks left. The corals are dying, and people are not seeing this because they're not under the ocean. And it's easy for the average person to visually see or understand about giraffe population or something like that. But it's harder for someone to contextualize something under the ocean, especially if they haven't experienced it. So thank you for being ahead of your time because it is a desperate situation now that we need to focus on.
But there's a good thing. The sea comes back really quickly. It's just given a bit of time.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what David Attenborough said. Our focus on his film on the ocean on his birthday just the other day, 8th of May, as he launched
Mm-hmm.
it, is the greatest place where need to give our attention is the ocean, because a healthy ocean is a healthy planet, which is healthy humans.
Absolutely.
A dead ocean is really a dead earth because
Mm-hmm.
it, and I think, like Sylvia Earle's also been saying, we're literally at a prominent point in our human evolution. We have the solutions, we have the money, we have the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
We can make this happen. Let's be a solution all the way through. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, we didn't have the information we do now.
Yeah.
AI has taken us to the next level as well. Whether we
Mm-hmm.
like it
Mm-hmm.
or not, it's there. And let's work with it. Let's make changes. Let's invest in our own planet because it's our life. Let's get to know it better. And that's part of what Seas for Life is for. You know, yeah, we can all make mistakes as humans. Businesses do. It's all about the profit. And then what? How much money do you need to do everything? And then what? And then
Exactly.
you can have all the money in the world and be the billionaire. And guess how many lovely billionaires are out there actually reinvesting their money back into purposeful projects? Because there are. They've realized. Not maybe not everyone, of course, but
Yeah.
it's there, it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really interesting times. We're in a very, very interesting era right now. We've got the UN Ocean Summit just coming up. We've got some you know, big things going on. 2030 was always a big date for us to always look at with the Sustainable Development Goals. It's 5 years away.
Yeah.
We obviously haven't achieved it, but by 2050, hello, things can change. It's exciting.
That is exciting. Circling back to Seas for Life, on your website, you talked about if someone wants to get involved, you have your guardianship program. Can you speak
Yeah.
a little to that?
Yeah, so we've got two things. Um, we've got working with schools where
Mhm.
we can take school groups and do a school program, and I would say mainly in Kenya at the moment. Um, and it doesn't always have to be in one destination. That's the beauty of what we offer because I don't own just one destination.
Mhm.
Work with different organizations. So we do a safari sort of down the coastline of Kenya, and you get involved with sea turtle monitoring programs, nesting programs, rehabilitation programs, mangrove, replanting, understanding mangroves, understanding the value of seagrasses, um, working with other kids from a local school and doing beach cleanups, understanding the value of marine protected areas. So with school kids, you can do that sort of generic introduction to what all these things are going on. I just want to spend time learning about manta rays. I can literally go there. Those are the people that you want to work with.
Mhm.
Or I want to do more coral reef restoration in the region, and I can say, because I'm not trying to tell you to come to my coral reef restoration program because
Mhm.
I'm the best.
Mhm.
I'm going to go, these guys are the coral reef restoration
Mhm.
programs. They're all good in their own way. You're all part of that solution. You can make a choice. If you want to do whale shark research and learning just to spend time with whale sharks, we could do a placement for that. Or if you want to go down to the kelp forest in South Africa or the sharks of South Africa and be part of a shark research unit, we can provide placements for that. Whether you're an undergrad, a grad, someone, a professional who wants a sabbatical, all
Mhm.
of those, we can do certain placements. And it's really fun. It's really, really fun. You learn so much.
The earth, but only 5% is discovered. And whenever I'm under the ocean, I just feel like the little mermaid in a whole new world. And I would love to hear some of your memorable or magical moments that you've had under the ocean that you could share with our listeners to also help them fall in love with the ocean. If there's just something that you swam with a whale shark or had a moment with a manta ray or something like that to just talk about these sort of just, because sometimes it really does feel like you're in another world or it's just so magical. What would you be able to say to that?
Okay, so I've got a couple, but one of the most incredible adventures on this planet is to watch or be a part of what we call the sardine run in South Africa,
Hmm.
where predator meets prey. And it's a phenomenal migration where these big sardines, we don't even know the science of why they're spawning, but they're spawning off literally Cape Agulhas and they're moving up to Durban. And they're in their trillions. It's the biggest biomass migration in the world. And they are feeding all our predators. So all the dolphins, all the Bryde's whale, the the sharks that feed on sardines, so not the great whites, because they don't feed on them. Your gannets, your seals. It's just the most incredible adventure in the ocean. And being a part of that with scientists on board, so you're learning about the sharks, you're learning about this whole thing, is incredible. And David Attenborough sort of filmed it, I think, on his first Blue Planet or second Blue Planet. And
Hmm.
it's incredible experience. It's not like you're sitting in a car watching lions hunt something. You're in the sea watching it unfold around you. It's just an incredible adventure. At the same time that humpback whale migration is happening, and you can come across a humpback whale and end up snorkeling with it, which we've done as well. You can see it on our sardine run thing. It's that's just one real adventure and expedition. It brings everything together. Seals, dolphins, sharks, whales, gannets, and predator feeding on the prey when you get it right. It's incredible. The others are really funny because sometimes you can just be, our Kenya coastline is not known for its diving. But if you dive off Diani, which is not even a protected area because the community refused for it to be protected by the national government, which is sad, but it is what it is right now. But when we go diving right now, you could end up diving on two dives with about 20 turtles. Most of them are greens and some are hawksbills. And you it's just really wonderful because you're not a threat.
Hmm.
You're not seen as a threat. And because of a new research program with the Ridley project there, they're doing photo ID. So they're getting to know well, they've got a database of over 1,000 individuals or more right now. And that's only in 3 or 4 years of data. Now, we didn't have that 4 years ago. And it's an incredible thing on a reef that's really dead, right? You don't
Yeah.
go down there thinking it's going to be beautiful and great visibility. It's not. But the turtles are phenomenal. And then you sort of get to watch all the benthic critics and all the sort of cryptic camouflage creatures, or you can act, well, that's me because I am a marine. I get that, what's happening. But once you can teach people to watch, you can really start seeing that the peacock grouper is looking after the eel as the eel goes
Mm.
hunting. They have this little symbiotic relationship. You don't capture that, and you can't talk underwater.
Hmm.
You can only talk when you come up and say, "Did you not see that?" Or, it depends on your guide and if they've seen it. But so yeah, it can be from the real adventurous stuff to something quite small, just like what's happening that you don't recognize. And manta ray, not manta rays. Oh yeah, manta rays. I've had a few, but more in the past when there were more in greater numbers than here now.
Hmm.
But whale sharks, I mean, I think it was on my third dive, and I remember thinking a cloud had gone over me. And that was just a whale shark. That was awesome. Or snorkeling, and I was doing some research. I was like, oh, whale shark's coming straight for me, you know. And many, many, many.
That's incredible. And I just feel when you talk about that, oh, it's so magical. But when you're in the ocean, you really just feel like you are a part of the ecosystem. It's not you versus them, or you don't, at least I don't feel separate. I feel a part of, which is really
Mm.
cool to experience.
Yeah, I do too, but some people don't.
Hmm.
They feel scared. And so one of the greatest opportunities for someone like me is to take someone who feels scared and get them with a tank on their back at 5 meters because you don't have to dive deep. You just need a tank on your back to
Mhm.
watch what's happening.
Yeah.
You don't get the bird's eye view. You're at the view, and it's like
Mhm.
being in a forest where you can just watch and
Yeah.
just watch. And once you start to watch, you can see what's happening. So sometimes it's not about the depth or the adventure, it's just about being. And it's really cool.
That's
And if
very
I can take
cool.
someone who's really scared of diving or snorkeling or whatever,
Hmm.
put a tank on their back and get them to 5 meters, it's really exciting for them just to see. Because at 5 meters, you can pop up the top.
Yeah, you have that safety. So,
Yeah.
just to wrap things up, when you look back on what you've accomplished, how do you feel about everything that you've done? And I guess on the flip side of that, what do you still feel that you want to accomplish?
Okay. No, that's such a good question. I feel I've not even half accomplished what I need to accomplish. I I would really, I think what I'd really like is to have a success, like a financially, a business that people see as successful,
Hmm.
completely in the circular business model, so that you're really powerful financially and you're continually giving back and you're continually able to change people's mindsets. They're not separate, they're together.
Yeah.
And that's what I'd like to really see. Because in the past it's been, oh, that's the business model, especially from America, is like, let's go and make lots and lots of money.
Hmm.
Right?
Absolutely.
And then we got huge taxes to pay. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to offset them. Then we're going to offset them into these charities that we can support, talk about at
Yeah.
dinner, and go and visit because they're cool. And they are really great models. And then you have to, and then, oh, by the way, they can write to us about a grant facility. But our particular strategy is this. So then the local organization has to change its focus to fit in with that global their strategy. And
Hmm.
it doesn't quite gel. So
Yeah.
I'd like to be able to build my business so that it's really, really it's created wealth and it's created impact.
Well, I think even just saying that out loud is the steps towards that. And
Yeah.
lastly, what gives you hope for the future of our oceans?
Oh, I think humanity.
Hmm.
I I think knowledge, storytelling,
Hmm.
communicating exactly what you're doing
Hmm.
because it spreads the word. And I think today's world, we have that opportunity because we've got Instagram, we can do storytelling.
Yeah.
People can choose to be in a normal system or choose not to be
Hmm.
at their own. And I think somewhere we're on the curve of a change. And I think I think well-being thinking, globalness thinking, like the ocean flows, more flowing thinking,
Hmm.
it is going to change. People will be connected. There will be still crazy things about crazy things.
Yeah.
We can't control the politics and the chessboard that's out there of these big global players, but you can change the individual. The individual can make changes.
Absolutely. Everything we do, even though you said sometimes it feels like a drop in a bucket, is change. And all those little things make big change. And you have made big change, Julie. I really appreciate all the work that you've done.
Yeah, you've got to have some stupid drive. I swear it has to be right deep down in your DNA to do what I've done. Because half my family don't get me. They think I'm really odd, I think. They're like, oh God, you should be doing this and making more money or whatever.
But I think that you have to, I don't know what the word is. You don't want to follow the sheep pack because then you're not going to be making an impact in the way you want to do. We need those outliers. Do you
Mm,
know what I mean? Like you're special because you are making change, and I think that's the cool thing, like you were saying, that we can share these stories through podcasts and Instagram. So they become not different. They become this, there's a lot of people doing this, and that is
exactly.
the cool thing that I'm learning.
That's the normal thing to do. Don't be abnormal and sit in a desk job. Be
Yeah,
normal and be there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Follow your
And I
passion, do the good work.
yeah, and I think there's always so much to learn. I think, I was just talking to someone earlier about the local cultures. They were not marine goers necessarily. They were a little bit like they didn't have the knowledge. They were probably fearful of the ocean.
Hmm.
But if you talk to those old communities, there would have been an inherent inbuilt asset investment. The
Hmm.
asset was natural heritage. So they never would have abused that asset. And
Yeah.
if someone came in to try and abuse it, they would have been stopped. And I think the way the world has gone, just because it has gone, because we've also, through that world, been able to develop things like diving, just be
Hmm.
honest.
Hmm.
Lucky me, I can dive. Um, that it's been removed, that need just to value your natural resource asset, because that's become a problem of the commons where it's all shared and everyone's on a take mission. So what's interesting, I think it's interesting and it's a real challenge knowing that because you can't go back, but what can we do? And I think old communities, who are very literate, who are very poor, they could have
Hmm.
been very wealthy,
Hmm.
have many stories to tell. And we
Yeah.
need to start showcasing that I think in all our communities, because it's hidden there. We devalued it because we all
Yeah.
valued money and
Agreed.
change.
Hmm.
So there's lots to be learned on this short journey of ours in the world.
Yeah. Well,
Yes, thank you very much, actually. Yeah.
yeah. Thank you again. I've had the most wonderful conversation over this time that we've had together. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. Maybe I can take one of my kids or my kids or my family and we'll come do one of your conservation programs. I would love to do that at
Dude,
some
I'd
point.
love to do that. I'd love to do that.
Hmm.
And I quite like your little dog in the background, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, this is my dog Rosie. She was my COVID puppy. We got her, as everyone got dogs during COVID. She came into our family and she just kind of hangs out for all the interviews.
Yeah, I have eight.
You have
So
eight. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. Just one more thing to add to your life that's not very busy at all.
No, but I have a great team at home and
Awesome.
and four of them are rescues.
Oh,
Well, pretty much six of them probably are. But anyway.
amazing.
Yeah, they're all great individual characters. So I looked at yours and I was like, oh, my dogs would really like you. Well, listen, thank you very, very much.
Yes,
And
we need to get you to bed. So
we'll see you in Kenya or Tanzania or somewhere Mozambique, one of the regions.
it's a deal.
And deal.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Julie. Have a wonderful night and we'll be in touch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks. So take
Bye.
care. Bye. Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this inspiring journey with Julie Church. From transforming flip flops into art with Ocean Sole to pioneering immersive conservation travel through Seas4Life, Julie reminds us that connection, creativity, and courage can drive meaningful change for our oceans and our communities. Her story is a powerful call to action, to value the sea not just for its beauty, but for its essential role in sustaining life. If you're moved by Julie's mission, consider how you too might dive deeper through travel, education, or simply rethinking your relationship with the natural world. If you'd like to learn more about OceanSole or Seas4Life, be sure to explore the links in the show notes to their websites and Instagram pages. Both are visually captivating and filled with inspiring stories of ocean conservation in action. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and keep looking beneath the surface.